White pawn marches to d4. Black knight marches to f6. White knight marches to f3. Black pawn marches to e6. White pawn marches to e3. Black pawn marches to b6. White pawn marches to c4. Black bishop marches to b7. White knight marches to c3. Black bishop marches to b4. White bishop marches to d3. Black kingside castling. White kingside castling. Black pawn marches to c5. White bishop marches to d2. Black pawn captures pawn at d4. White pawn captures pawn at d4. Black pawn marches to d5. White pawn marches to a3. Black bishop captures knight at c3. White bishop captures bishop at c3. Black pawn captures pawn at c4. White bishop captures pawn at c4. Black bishop marches to a6. White pawn marches to b3. Black bishop captures bishop at c4. White pawn captures bishop at c4. Black knight marches to d7. White rook moves sideways to c1. Black rook moves sideways to c8. White queen marches to a4. Black queen marches to c7. White bishop marches to b4. Black rook moves sideways to d8. White rook moves sideways to d1. Black queen moves sideways to b7. White queen retreats to b3. Black pawn marches to h6. White pawn marches to h3. Black knight retreats to f8. White knight marches to e5. Black knight retreats to d7. White bishop captures knight at f8. Black king captures bishop at f8. White knight retreats to g4. Black pawn marches to h5. White knight retreats to e3. Black king moves sideways to g8. White pawn marches to d5. Black knight marches to c5. White queen retreats to b2. Black queen moves sideways to e7. White queen marches to e5. Black queen marches to f6. White queen captures pawn at h5. Black knight marches to e4. White rook marches to c2. Black knight marches to c3. White knight marches to g4. Black queen marches to f5. White queen captures queen at f5. Black pawn captures queen at f5. White knight marches to f6 and gives check. Black pawn captures knight at f6 and breaks check. White rook captures knight at c3. Black rook marches to c5. White pawn marches to h4. Black pawn marches to b5. White rook moves sideways to g3 and gives check. Black king escapes check at f8. White pawn captures pawn at b5. Black rook captures pawn at d5. White rook captures rook at d5. Black rook captures rook at d5. White rook moves sideways to b3. Black pawn marches to f4. White pawn marches to a4. Black rook marches to d1 and gives check. White king escapes check at h2. Black pawn marches to f3. White pawn marches to a5. Black pawn captures pawn at g2. White king captures pawn at g2. Black resigns and white wins the game.